021 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 9 p.m, I'm Ben Leo. Tonight,
I'm sorry. So simple, and yet it feels like if I say it, I might actually die. I'm really, really sorry, Mark.
Say it properly, Jeremy.
I'm sorry. Nope.
oh, how I miss those two. The Attorney General, Lord Hermer, stopped short of saying sorry after his, quote, clumsy Nazi comments earlier this week. But are the left now completely out of touch with ordinary British people? Also,
what are you going to do? You're going to arrest the preacher? I'm allowed to preach here. The force know I'm allowed to preach here. They always come out.
Christian preachers are collared by police, while those from other major religions, any guesses, continue to bombard British high streets. Are Christians now subject to two-tier justice? Plus, the British military will unleash an army of hackers on Putin's Russia in an unprecedented offensive move. But are we playing with fire? And food ratings, did you see? Your business was listed for having a 0 hygiene rating from the council. Were you aware of that? I'll reveal why I've been unleashed on the takeaways of East London this week, and it may just put you off your dinner. I'll be joined tonight by our stellar Saturday night panel, former Scotland Yard detective Peter Blexley, the journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, and the former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards. And breaking tonight, sad news unfortunately, another record-breaking day of illegal crossings in the English Channel. Nearly 1,200 arrivals on 18 boats, with an average of 65 migrants on each one. Smashing the gangs, don't make me laugh.
Last government lost control of the borders. I'm determined that we'll retake control of the borders.
Good evening, welcome along. Hope you've had a good week. We all know the story by now, don't we? Keir Starmer's busy lawyer friend who he gave a peerage to and made Attorney General, Lord Hermer. He reckons anyone who wants migrant criminals deported is in the same bracket as a Nazi. Well, every news outlet in Britain today reported that Hermer apologised for the self-described clumsy remark. The statement from Lord Hermer's spokesman read, he rejects the characterisation of his speech by the Conservatives. He acknowledges, though, that his choice of words was clumsy and regrets having used this reference. But I'm sorry, unless I'm being completely dense, I don't see an apology in there. It's just a statement of regret. And when he talks about clumsy, This is a pre-prepared speech he gave to an audience that I suspect took him, I don't know, a couple of hours to write and think about. Did he not think it was a bit mad to talk like that? And as one Labour source said today, as for Hermer, once a mentalist, always a mentalist. But beyond the insanity of comparing people who want to deport foreign paedophiles with Nazis, this whole affair exposes something we've known all along, doesn't it? Labour are so out of touch with normal people in this country that it's all but confirmed now, I think, that they're going to get absolutely destroyed at the next general election. Lord Hermer thinks you're Nazis. Meanwhile, his friend Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, said in January that the rape gang scandal was a far-right bandwagon.
And when politicians, and I mean politicians, who sat in government for many years, are casual about honesty, decency, truth and the rule of law, calling for inquiries because they want to jump on a bandwagon of the far right.
And it was only on this show last week that former Labour Armed Forces Minister Bill Rammell, my Sunday panellist, I'm sure you're all fans, said this about Adam Brooks.
Quoted the Telegraph or something like that. Are they far right? Is Reform far right, Bill?
Yes.
Oh, you're mad. Right, Bill, am I far right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're absolutely bonkers.
No, I'm not.
Far right.
Yeah, if you look at any classical...
What makes me far right, Bill?
If you look in any classical political terms, the views you espouse, Adam,
you've
are
just
far
lost
right.
any credibility you ever had with the viewers. I'm far right.
And in February, Labour Minister Andrew Gwynn was sacked and suspended from the party when leaked text messages revealed he said he hoped a 72-year-old woman, a constituent, would soon be dead after she wrote to her local councillor about bin collections. And of course, we all remember Emily Thornberry resigning from Labour's front bench in 2014 when she tweeted her absolute contempt for the working class by mocking a St George's flag at the home of a white van man. Yeah, well, a leopard never changes its spots. Labour may have understood the working class in this country many moons ago, but not anymore. In fact, they're a laughingstock. And the funniest thing is, they don't even realise it. And they won't see the electoral bloodbath coming just a few years later either. Let's get the thoughts of my panel now. The former Met Police detective Peter Blexley, the journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, and the former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards. Hello, panel. Good evening.
Hello. Good evening.
Welcome along. Hope you're all well.
Very well, thank you.
Paul Richards.
Yeah.
Defend the indefensible.
Well, we just put the national minimum wage up, which is all about working class people.
What's that got to do with anything?
Well, you said contempt for the working class. I'm saying we put money in their pockets.
Right.
I think Hermer is absolutely wrong with the language he chose in his speech. By the way, not clumsy. He's a man who obviously earns his living by choosing his words extremely carefully. I've read it word for word. He was talking about a specific jurist in 1930, whatever.
Experts.
You know, in Nazi Germany. But you should never refer to anything, unless it's a history lecture, calling people Nazis or like the Nazis. It's always stupid.
Does he need to resign?
I think he should really be considering his position. He may be a great lawyer, but he's a very bad politician. He has form, and I'm not sure he's an asset to the Labour government right now.
I think that applies to Keir Starmer as well, right? You know, not a very good politician.
Well, but Starmer is elected, and obviously Hermer is not.
He did choose the most controversial legal expert in the 30s, actually, the most controversial one, that everyone knows to avoid, everyone. Now, this speech was at RUSI, the Royal United Services Institute. That's like the good... the great and the good in this country. He must have been aware when he was writing this speech how careful he should have been. I wouldn't call his words clumsy. I'd call them, and this is a strange word for a KC, misjudged. They are misjudged.
And also as a cop-out. That statement he released today via his spokesman was an absolute cop-out. It wasn't an apology.
And what he's doing is apologising because the Conservatives... characterisation of the debate. That's like the domestic violence perpetrator who says, you know, well, I must apologise, you know, my wife made me do it. No one made him do it.
Yeah, people that say, I'm sorry if you're offended. I mean, it's just a non-apology, isn't it? It's a non-apology apology. Yeah.
Peter Blexley, if you want foreign paedophiles deported back to wherever the hell they came from, you are a Nazi.
According to Hermer, talking to Nazis, last year I went on an incredibly powerful trip to Auschwitz-Birkenau.
First time?
The concentration camps, and I would recommend it for anybody that hasn't been to go. And for people like Hermer to try and draw this equivalence with the Nazis is beyond contempt. It is utterly revolting. And if he hasn't been, I'll take him and I'll pay for a cheap flight and cheap accommodation, and we'll go there and I'll show him what the Nazis did. I am utterly enraged. He is clearly a vile man. He is not fit to hold high public office, and the sooner we see the back of him, the better.
Why hasn't Keir Starmer sacked him yet?
Because he's spineless, and then because Herma is his big chum.
And I think what is troubling about this is that you're right, Peter, there is an allegation there of cronyism, if you like, but also there was a lot of criticism about the guidance he gave in the Chagos Islands as well. So there are people, even inside the Labour Party, that regard him as a repeat offender. So I think it's not just this episode in isolation, and whether people see him as part of the North London set up there in, I don't know where, Primrose Hill or wherever. It's because it's in a chain of events that have happened so far.
And in his day job, before becoming Attorney General, Herma has represented so many people that really should not be in this country.
It's the Hall of Fame, isn't it? Let's have the Hall of Fame, Peter. Who is in there? Shamima Begum, I think Al-Qaeda suspects. He believes, right, Lord Herma, like Keir Starmer and all their sort of North London international lawyer friends, they believe in the rule of law so much and the international order more so than their love for Great Britain. They believe that even the most despicable people on earth, when they're banged to rights, should have legal representation.
And the rights to family life in the UK, for example, where they should be shackled on a plane and being sent to a land far, far away.
I mean, everyone has the right to legal representation.
Beyond being represented in court.
That is the basis of our legal system. However, the good news is there's a reshuffle coming up. You know, let's see what happens, but I don't imagine he'll still be in that job.
There's a really important point here as well. The question mark hangs over whether a non-elected person should be in this role. Now, this hasn't been given, to my mind, to a non-elected person for nearly 100 years. So he was ennobled by Keir Starmer in order to fulfil this role. But I think part of the problem here is that a politician would understand nuance a lot more. When a politician would go into a RUSI to give, that's their annual keynote lecture, they would pay attention to how this sounds to the wider public.
Paul, last question to you. Labour are finished, aren't they? 10 months in, they've already...
the polling suggests that Starmer is the most popular person to be Prime Minister right now, more than Farage.
YouGov poll?
Yeah, polling.
Well, Zia Youssef tweeted about that and said it's the most moronic poll he's ever said.
Well, because he doesn't agree with it.
Well, no, I think it was the methodology behind
the methodology of YouGov is extremely robust. They're a proper polling company and they put Starmer ahead. I mean, you may not like it, but it's true.
All right, well, look, Paul Richards may not have been able to defend Lord Herma tonight, but Labour's Nature Minister, does that exist? Did her best yesterday afternoon to defend him. Let's take a look.
The Attorney General totally rejects the characterisation of his remarks by the Conservative Party. He has, however, reflected on his remarks and apologised for any offence that he may have unintentionally caused.
Does the UK government share his view?
He's a member of the UK government, so yes, we share his view.
Resign. Spokesman for the Attorney General, Lord Herma, told GB News an Attorney General gave a speech defending international law which underpins our security, protects against threats from aggressive states like Russia and helps tackle organised immigration crime. He rejects the characterisation of his speech by the Conservatives. He acknowledges, though, that his choice of words was clumsy and regrets having used this reference. And tonight, Number 10 has told GB News that the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has confidence in his Attorney General after the Nazi row. That sounds like... I mentioned it last week, actually. You know, a football club who's lost 10 on the trot and the board come out and say, he's got our full confidence. Next game he loses and he's out. Anyway, we'll see what happens with that. Thank you, panel. Great start. It's the final week to see how you could be our biggest Great British giveaway winner to date. A brand new motorhome worth £67,000 is up for grabs. Here's all the details you need to win.
It's the final week to see how you could be our biggest winner yet.
Driving away in this Elnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. It has plenty of room for your family of four. Comes complete with kitchen, bathroom and all the space you'll need for life on the road. And the best news? You can drive it on your existing driving licence. Plus, we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Don't delay. You can't win if you're not in the draw. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225 225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
This motorhome and £5,000 in cash really could be yours. Good luck.
Right, up next, after a Christian preacher in Brighton, of course, in East Sussex, is collared by police, while preachers from other major religions continue to bombard British high streets, are Christians in Britain now second-class citizens? Our head-to-head is in 3 short minutes. Don't go anywhere. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
please bring us up to date.
Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. Now, a Christian preacher in Brighton, East Sussex, my neck of the woods, has been moved along by Sussex police for supposedly spreading hate.
You know I'm allowed to be here. You know I'm allowed to be here. I'm allowed to preach. Yeah, I'm continuing my message to preach the word of God. So what are you going to do? You're going to arrest the preacher? I'm allowed to preach here. The force know I'm allowed to preach here. They always come out.
Right, well, at the same time that's happening, preachers of other major religions are lining the high streets of Britain, seemingly free from interruption from our police forces. And as anyone who's dared walk down London's iconic Oxford Street recently, they'll be able to testify that. Christians have also faced legal opposition to silent prayer outside abortion clinics in recent months too. So tonight I'm asking, are Christians in Britain being treated as second-class citizens? Well, I'm joined now by the Catholic journalist and commentator Caroline Farrow, and from the Peter Tatchell Foundation, Simon Harris. Good evening to you both. Thank you for your company. Caroline, nice to see you. I suspect I know what you're going to say on this. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I think I'm going to repeat what you said, Ben. I mean, groups like mine, I work for an organisation, Citizen Go, and we are constantly campaigning to defend Christians' rights, you know, including freedom of speech, conscience and worship. And I think, as you've said, we've seen the case of this Sussex preacher, but just down the road from me in Rushmore, Christian preachers were banned from the local town centre from Farnborough and Aldershot because of complaints from LGBT activists. They weren't hate preachers, you know, they were just peacefully preaching the gospel on public streets. And I think if this was another religion, this would just be unthinkable. And so, you know, this is happening in modern Britain. Preaching the Bible in public is just treated as a public order offence. And as you say, it's a hypocrisy, because every weekend, huge pro-Palestinian demonstrations are allowed, often displaying extremist rhetoric, glorifying violence or jihad. And these are all tolerated in the name of freedom of expression. We see Catholics praying silently outside abortion clinics. They get interrogated, fined and arrested. And you just think, well, why does free speech apply to extremists and not peaceful Christians? And
Good
also,
question.
you know, finally,
go on.
You know, there are now even policy discussions which are around mandatory reporting laws. There's suggestions that Catholic priests should be forced to break the seal of confessional, and that would actually criminalise the Catholic priesthood itself.
Okay.
You know,
All right, let's hear from Simon. Simon Harris, two-tier policing, two-tier religions. Some religions, I'll name them, Islam. You'd never get that happening with an Islamic preacher in the street, Simon.
Oh, well, I seem to remember that's happened plenty in the past, but welcome to another edition of the Faux Outrage Squad. Let me tell you, I was on Oxford Street this week. Between Next and IKEA, there were 3 Christian preachers. So, Ben, I think you probably want to get out a little bit more. Now, I've watched that video. I don't know whether my colleague on the screen has. Let's start. He lowers the volume so you don't hear what the police have to say. They didn't collar him, as you said, Ben, in your introduction just before the advert. They were politely talking to him. They didn't move him on. He left on his own thing.
Yeah, Simon, let's not be silly.
He set that up for a viral moment at the very beginning. And the only people the police moved on was the woman objecting to him. He packed up his own bag. Ben, you need to watch it again. He packed up his own bag and he left. This is just pointless.
Because he voluntarily left, Simon, because he knows what would happen otherwise.
Right,
why else would the police turn up?
Collared. You said he was collared.
It's a turn of phrase, Simon. It's a turn of phrase.
Okay,
why else would the coppers turn up?
Ben, you're wrong.
Simon.
They were perfectly polite to him. Now, I don't know what.
I'm not saying they weren't polite.
I don't know what happened on that video before, but I was a journalist for long enough to know plenty of things did. For all I know, he was blocking the pavement. We simply don't know. This is just this typical fake outrage, day in,
but it's
day
not.
out.
In my locality, they got an injunction out. In Farnborough and Aldershot, they tried to take an injunction out to stop Christians preaching on the streets. Every single day, every single week, groups like ours, groups like Christian Concern, are always having to defend street preachers who are always being arrested for preaching hate. This is happening time and time again. We're not making this up. Street preachers are being arrested.
Caroline, sorry to interject. Simon, what do you make of the Christians who are praying silently in their head near abortion clinics who were arrested?
Do you know, as I don't know anything about it, I wouldn't dare venture.
Oh, that's convenient.
I tend to only venture opinions on stories that I know about. And
it was a massive story, Simon.
Let me enlighten you.
Ben, your researchers didn't tell me to look up or research that thing, so that's a little unfair. And don't point your finger. This has been public.
Okay, one at a time.
We're talking about this video, and the video Clearly, he was setting it up for a viral moment, which he didn't get, and here we are talking about it.
All right.
Okay. Of course, he's got his rights to free speech, and I would defend it to the absolute hilt. But we need to put things into context. He was not collared. He was not moved on. Okay, let's find better examples and let's debate it.
He agreed to move on after being asked, Simon.
Particular preacher was looking for a viral moment, and I'm just not going to give it to him.
Well, sorry, Simon, Caroline, I'm going to come back to you in a second, apologies. But Simon, even if he was looking for a viral moment, what does that matter? He's a Christian preacher. What does it matter if he's looking for viral moments now against the law in the UK? By the way, he agreed to move on after being asked.
Absolutely not, but that's absolutely not. I mean,
so what difference does it make if he's looking for a viral moment?
Well, let's be honest. He wasn't collared and he wasn't moved on.
All right, Caroline, last word to you.
Well, I think when we have police asking people, are you praying and what are you praying about, and then arresting them on that basis, which is what happened in the case of Isabel Vaughan Spruce, which is very well known. I can't believe you don't know about this. You know, this has been headline. We've had J.D. Vance talk about it. When you have police coming up to a woman and saying, what are you thinking about? What are you praying about? Had she said, I'm thinking about Greta Thunberg, she would have been fine. Had she said, I'm thinking about, you know, what I'm going to have for dinner tonight, she would have been fine. But because she said, I'm praying, she got arrested and moved on. And down the road from me, Christian preachers were banned. In Farnborough and Aldershot, there was an injunction taken out, or an attempted injunction, stopping them from street preaching.
All right.
I'll tell you what, I'll put all the money in my bank account that no law will ever break the sanctity of the confessional. You have not got to worry there.
Keir Starmer is wanting to change that. There are discussions about they're bringing in a proposed law to say that Catholic priests are going to have to break the seal of
outrage squad strikes again. Happy Saturday night.
It's not. If you're a Catholic priest,
we'll end it there, I think. All right, thank you both for your company. Simon Harris from the Peter Tatchell Foundation and my good friend, Catholic journalist and commentator Caroline Farrow. Thank you both. Speaking to GB News tonight, Sussex Police told us we were called to New Road in Brighton at around 12:30 p.m. on Friday to a report of a man alleged to be broadcasting hate speech through a loudspeaker. Officers attended and engaged with the man and members of the public at the scene. Following a conversation with officers, the man voluntarily chose to leave the area. No police powers were used to remove the man from the scene. Well, that's all right then. Right, coming up next on tonight's show, the British military will spend £1 billion on an offensive hacking team to target rogue states such as Vladimir Putin's Russia. But are we just playing with fire? I'll be joined by a former cybersecurity government advisor to explain more about this unprecedented and controversial move. He's next.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Heatwave conditions set to continue across parts of Europe where 40 degrees Celsius is possible, this turning into a thundery breakdown elsewhere. Now, the heatwave conditions will continue across parts of Portugal, Spain and also Morocco, but it's likely we'll see the peak of heat through today. But this turning into thundery showers, particularly across France and Germany, but elsewhere across Rome, the Adriatic coastline and across Greece, it should be mostly dry, settled, still feeling warm in the sunshine, and temperatures into next week still remaining in the mid-20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Quite a changeable look to the weather on Sunday, a mixture of rain or showers for some of us, but there will be some sunshine, particularly in the south and the east. It is going to be turning a good deal fresher though, this cold front bringing in some fresher winds from the Atlantic as we go into Sunday, and those isobars tightening together to bring some brisker winds. One or two showers on Saturday evening, just moving their way eastwards across England and Wales, but many areas actually ending the day on a dry note with some clear periods overnight. Notice these clumps of heavy showers and longer spells of rain arriving across Northern Ireland and Western Scotland though, and here turning quite windy once again. Temperatures not as high as they have been in recent nights and feeling a good deal fresher by the morning. So for Northern Ireland and western parts of Scotland, quite a wet start to the day on Sunday. That rain particularly heavy across the Highlands, the Grampians and down across the central belt as well. A mixture of sunshine showers to the northwest of Scotland and across Northern Ireland. So you may be lucky enough to stay dry just about here. But a few isolated showers also for Northern England, Wales and southwest England too. The best of the morning sunshine across the Midlands and eastern parts of the UK. But as we go through the morning, the cloud will tend to just bubble up a bit towards the east. Still some sunny spells here. Some pretty heavy showers, the odd rumble of thunder there across Wales, Northern England and western Scotland. And here it will be a fairly blustery day, perhaps even coastal gales through the Irish Sea. So feeling quite a bit cooler than it has done of late. Still holding on to a little bit of warmth in the far southeast with highs of around 22 or 23 in the London area. A fine day to come for most of us on Monday, just a few very isolated showers developing, but notice it does start to turn much windier up towards the northwest and out towards the west. We've got this much wetter and windier area of weather coming in from Monday night and into Tuesday. So a wet and windy spell for many of us as we begin the day on Tuesday, and it looks set to stay pretty changeable for the rest of the week.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Nigel is back.
Good evening.
Unfiltered.
Are these proposals bold enough?
Uncompromising.
Will it bring growth?
Unmissable.
We as a country are brilliant.
Nigel Farage returns this Tuesday from 7 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
Welcome back. Now, Britain is set to unleash an army of hackers on Vladimir Putin in an unprecedented escalation of offensive cyber warfare. Defence Secretary John Healey vowed to give the armed forces more power online to target hostile states such as Putin's Russia, as he warns the keyboard has become a weapon of war. Don't I know it? When asked if the MOD was increasing its capability to attack enemy states such as Russia and China, Mr. Healey said yes. This is undoubtedly the most explicit confirmation by any government minister of Britain's desire to carry out offensive hacks rather than simply defending itself against foreign cyber attacks. We're joined now by the former government advisor on cybersecurity, Andrew Jenkinson. Andrew, good evening. Thank you for your company. Can we really beat the Russians at hacking and indeed the likes of North Korea? I think they've got a few years on us, haven't they?
Good evening, Ben. Thank you for having me. The challenge we've got is we're spending money to fight fire instead of preventing fire. So we're actually exacerbating the problem.
What do you mean by that? For someone like me who's not too clued up, what does that mean?
OK, so if we look at the sequence of events with Marks and Spencer's, Harrods, Co-op, etc., the reason they're suffering cyber attacks is because they're not doing the basics. Think of John Major's quotes back in his day. Do the basics, back to basics, and we've got to do those because otherwise we're being picked off left, right and centre. We've got Rome is on fire and we're selling fire flamethrowers. And that's all well and good if you're selling and making flamethrowers, but it doesn't prevent any further fires.
OK, so, Andrew, what does back to basics mean? Is it set up a firewall, stop dishing out your password and things like that? Yeah. What are you talking about?
Ben, look, the reality is the internet was weaponized many years ago for surveillance back in 2001. And what we're looking at here, back to basics, is securing websites, securing servers, securing the translation of documentations, emails, etc., using the internet connectivity. If they're weak and exposed, nothing's going to stop a bad guy getting hold of that data.
Andrew, I've heard stories that haven't been out in the public domain that, I'm sure you know it as well, actually it's common knowledge, it's no big secret, that many NHS trusts are being hacked almost on a weekly and monthly basis, lots of data being released, so on and so on. And I can't believe we don't have our own cyber warfare units anyway. I suspect we should have had them many years ago. So I don't think this is a new thing, really. Why is the government now trying to sort of spin it as some new thing?
Well, ask the question, Ben, if you really want to be a little bit contentious about that. If you were saber rattling, would you do it in public?
Yes.
And the answer is not really.
No?
We do have cyber warfare offensive capability, and that's been around since the turn of the last century, 2000, after the 9/11 attacks. Presidential orders were signed, and full-on cyber warfare was a new narrative back in 2001.
Okay.
So I was in your studios, Ben, only 5 weeks ago, talking about the NHS cyber attacks. They're being attacked 50 times a week.
50 times a week. And who's doing it? The North Koreans? The Russians?
People that have got an interest in
the French
personal information. It could be anybody. But the challenge is it's being monetized, Ben. And there's little attribution. How many people do you know that are serving long-term prison sentences for cyber attacks? And as we look at the Co-op, the Marks and Spencer's house, they're actually deemed to be teenagers.
Well, I remember, Andrew, he was a British guy years ago. He had Asperger's. He hacked into the US Secretary, the Pentagon. I can't remember his name. Is it Gary? What's his name? Can you remember?
I can't remember his name, but you're perfectly right. And the reason this is happening, Ben, is because the websites and the servers aren't secured.
Okay. Maybe
That's the regulator's fault.
Yeah. All right, Andrew, thank you for your company and your expertise. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Right, let's get the thoughts of my panel now. Former Met Police Detective Peter Blexley, journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, and the former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards. Linda, are you worried about being hacked by the North Koreans or the French?
Or the Chinese?
Scots?
Or Chinese.
Or Chinese,
They're very able at their spying activities. I'm sure that they've got a crack team in
Well, it was the Tories, of course, who a few years ago, they banned Huawei from having 5G equipment in the UK.
So I think it's something to be very, very concerned about. In fact, military leaders over the last few weeks have all pointed this out as one of the most important wars that we will fight going forward. The cyber war is one of the most important wars, because if you think about it, if you interrupt the information in and out of an airport, a hospital, big institutions like that, you may as well let off a bomb.
Yeah. Peter, what was it like at the Met when you were there?
Well, in recent years, I've had the great good fortune to work with some cyber experts, and their brilliance is really quite frightening. And I'm sure that the next global conflict, should it happen, will not be about dropping nuclear bombs on one another's countries, rendering them uninhabitable for decades upon decades. It is going to be largely a cyber war, because if you can starve a nation of its power, of the ability to deliver water to households, and to completely screw with the logistics so that food, for example, cannot be supplied, that is more likely to be the nature of warfare. The government, the military, do way, way, way more than they are actually declaring through this kind of press release, and we found £1 billion and all of that. And we have to make sure that they have the very best brains and that they continue to protect us.
Paul?
I'm wearing my Ukraine colours tonight quite on purpose, and I think we need to defeat Putin by all the means necessary, military, but also the cyber warfare. And to me, John Healey is emerging as one of the real stars of the cabinet. I think he's just quietly getting on the job. He's increasing defence expenditure to 3% now, and he's rearming Europe, and he's doing the job.
You're right there saying that he keeps his head down. I was just thinking when you said that, well, I haven't heard from him in recent weeks or months. He's not getting caught up in any...
He's probably doing his job.
Well, exactly,
He's doing his job behind the scenes. A spending review coming up as well, let's not forget. So let's see if he wins in that.
Look at what the breach in the substation with the database on the edge of Heathrow Airport did.
Yeah.
Over 48 hours, it caused worldwide disruption.
Spain, Portugal as well, question mark.
You don't have to take a couple of those out, and you would have widespread chaos.
Also, I wonder whether blackmail is going to become a thing, because can you imagine? I mean, I'm pretty vanilla. My phone's, nothing on here. But could you imagine if world leaders have some dodgy stuff on their phones or some saucy pictures or something? I don't know. They could be used for blackmail.
But we've already seen that with Signal. That's the app supposed to be more secure than WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Where the Pentagon or the White House accidentally invited a very senior journalist into the WhatsApp group and then divulged all their live battle plans.
I think that was. Did you hear about that, Peter? I think that was intentional.
No.
I don't think Pete Hegseth, the Defence Secretary, and the like, are that stupid.
Well, we get the headlines at 10 o'clock. Let's hope there's some juicy headlines, perhaps, about a world leader found in a compromising position.
Yes.
That always brightens up a Sunday, doesn't it?
We can hope and pray. Yeah, of course, all the first newspaper front pages coming up in the next hour. We're moving on, though, because it's Unleashed, Leo Unleashed, next. Food ratings, did you see? No. Your business was listed for having a 0 hygiene rating from the council. Were you aware of that? Find out why I've been popping my head into the countless takeaways of East London as I bring you my latest episode of Leo Unleashed. You don't want to miss it. Back in a sec.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the
power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
Welcome back. It's time now for Leo Unleashed, where I drag my backside out of the studio and travel all around the UK to see what life is like in your communities. What's great about where you live, what can be improved, and I'll be having plenty of fun along the way too, just like I did this week when I visited Leighton, a bustling suburb of East London. If you're like me and you're fond of a takeaway every now and then, pay attention, because I am in the council-run area of Waltham Forest, which is home to the most amount of businesses in the entire UK with 0 rated hygiene certificates. I'm here in Leighton in East London, where 76 restaurants or takeaways have 0 ratings across the borough. Would you eat somewhere with a 0 rating?
No.
No, why not?
Because I wouldn't feel safe.
Why did you get a 0? Was it because of the location of a sink or something? What was it?
It was a cooked food vacuumed in the same machine as raw food.
Putting cooked food in the same
machine
area, the same machine as raw food.
Yes.
They told you off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big time.
What did they say?
What, not to do it again?
Okay. So what's your rating now? Is it still 0?
I'm waiting for them to come back.
Food ratings, did you see? Your business was listed for having a 0 hygiene rating from the council. Were you aware of that?
No, I'm not selling food here.
Not selling food?
Yes, sir.
You don't know why?
I don't know.
Yeah. There are 76 businesses with a 0 food hygiene rating.
Yeah.
Your place was one of them. It looks pretty clean, it looks good. Why did you get a 0?
You know, it was like at the beginning of the store, it was like everything was messy, but it was not because of the hygiene. Because our storage was pretty much dodgy. Everything was sorted out, and we had already booked for the other appointment to get them here.
So have they come back yet? No?
No, we just already booked the appointment, and I was waiting for them to...
When are they coming, do you know?
I'm not sure about that, which our manager is doing with that.
Okay. And when did they come?
I think it was like November or something.
Lovely. And you got Dubai chocolate as well.
We got Dubai chocolate.
Very popular.
Yeah, very popular. We got all the seeds, spices.
Nice. Okay, so this is a Afro-Caribbean supermarket which was listed as having a 0. Let's see if we can find the boss. Good to see you. There was a story about food ratings, and Waltham Forest had 76 businesses which had a 0 food rating, and yours was on there. We just wondered why that was and had it been sorted.
Oh, 1 minute.
Okay. Ben from GB News, sorry to bother you. Are you well? We were just doing a quick piece on the food standards ratings. You know the agency?
Where?
So, you know in Waltham Forest, the council, you speak English?
No.
Why would they rate it 0?
I don't know, that's why I'm asking you.
Because they might have their reasons why they rate it 0.
Yeah. Do you know what they were?
I don't know. Probably it's an African shop. I don't know.
Why would that mean you get a 0?
Because I don't know why they rate it 0.
Okay. Why would, because it's an African shop though, you getting a 0?
I don't know.
Do you not need to know though to fix it? Because if you don't fix a 0 within a certain time, apparently they can shut you down.
You're fixing it. Yeah.
You're fixing it?
Yeah.
So what was the problem?
Oh.
No one knows what the problem was? No? It's being fixed and everything's going to be good.
Fixing behind the doors.
Fixing behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right, I'll leave you guys to it then. Thank you for your time.
All right.
Have a good day.
Okay.
See you.
Well, this is actually for me boss.
He sent you out, has he?
Yeah, it's a chicken burger.
Hopefully it's fresh and
I'm hoping
no
so.
funny business.
Well, it ain't me eating it, so
exactly. Yours isn't a 0, is it? Yours is 4. 4, that's good.
5, I think. So not everything is because of like dirtiness and this and that, because there's some like procedural things that go wrong, and like if you don't have a can opener, correct one, you get a star down. Do you know what I mean? So it changes a lot.
It's got to be, in some cases they'll shut them down. So until they're sorted themselves out, but it needs to be within, well, before you can sell food again, it's got to be within a week or two, isn't it, really?
All right, there we go. Peter Blexley, would you eat at a 0 rated takeaway?
I have some experience of food hygiene ratings.
Oh, yeah?
When I was chairman of our local cricket club, our kitchen had a 5-star rating from the local council inspections, and we were very proud of that. And our wonderful team of volunteers worked extremely hard and kept it spotlessly clean in order to maintain that highest possible award. Yes, it takes effort, but it's crucial. If you're serving food to people, you have to be spotless. And I wouldn't go anywhere that didn't have a 5-star rating.
I mean, one of those people was they were on about storing, I think I got that right, storing raw meat next to cooked meat. Yeah. That's extremely dangerous.
He was mixing it,
And the kind of food poisoning you get from that is very, very severe and can be very occasionally fatal.
Paul, those guys were, I mean, that one person was inspected in March, I think. There was another inspected in November, but they still hadn't had follow-ups. So despite getting a 0, the council doesn't know whether they've improved things or not, yet they're still open running businesses.
It reminds me of that episode of Faulty Towers where the food inspectors go around. If you remember, there was a rat, wasn't there, running around, or a Siberian hamster, I think it was dubbed. But, I mean, the point is that the point of the inspection regime is to improve, isn't it? It's not just to sort of say to people, this is dirty, don't eat here. It's to allow the people that own those places to improve. So unless they know why they're getting the 0 ratings, unless they know what the measures are to improve it, nothing will get better.
Well, I think are you talking about the Afro-Caribbean shop?
Well, and Faulty Towers too. But, I mean, in this case, you know, they're not getting the follow-up they need. Although, having said all of that, it's good that we have this regime. You know, the people that say, oh, the state's awful and let's row it back and cut everything.
Well,
actually, this is the state keeping us safe, isn't it?
Well, I don't know about that, because restaurants and takeaways aren't obliged to put the ratings on their windows.
But the good ones do, and those are the ones the market then kicks
And the
in,
good
and
ones
those are
have
the
a
ones we go
5-star.
to.
And then you can eat in there with some considerable confidence.
Yeah.
Anything less than that, boycott it. Don't touch it, would be my advice.
Very good advice.
All right, before we move on, what's your takeaway of choice?
Chicken shish and doner mix. All the salads, chilli sauce and a portion of chips, please.
Linda?
Cod and chips.
Well, I'm no carbs, so anything with a lot of meat.
So you're keto, no carbs?
I am keto. I've lost 10 stone, Ben. 10 stone.
I
can't believe 10 stone.
How much did you
One of these weeks, we'll have to get some pictures of me when I was a very fat man, weighing in at 23 stone, but cutting out the carbs and walking a lot.
Can I ask you very quickly before we move on, how did you get to that size?
Eating too much sugar. I was addicted to sugar. So
what would you eat?
Well, just sitting on the sofa, a tub of Ben and Jerry's, bar of big, catering pack of chocolate, all of that, and no exercise at all. And I didn't drink, so it wasn't the alcohol. Can't blame that, but it was definitely the sugar. I'm doing a marathon for Macmillan on Saturday.
Oh, good man.
So there you go.
Are you actually in a state of ketosis?
I think so, yeah. I think so, yeah. I think that's where I'm at now. So I managed to maintain the weight loss over about a year.
Paul, well done.
I recommend it to everyone.
Well
Feel
done
much
you.
better.
Well done, you. It takes some graft, especially when you're that size.
Every day is a hard day, You have to. It's total vigilance all the time, but worth it.
People say to me, "Look, you were born naturally slim." I say, "No, look. If I could easily sit there and smash a pack of, I don't know, Jammy Dodgers or maybe 10 packs."
And you're a young man. I was your size when I was your age, So in my 30s and 40s is when it piled on. That's why you've got to be careful.
Fast metabolism, Ben.
Well, no, only because I play sport and go to the gym. Honestly, if I did nothing and ate what I wanted, I'd be fat.
Of course.
I'd be sat here. I probably wouldn't be on air.
But this is why I'm against the injections. This is a topic for another time. But the injections are not good news for people because you pile it on the minute you stop taking them.
Calories in, energy out.
Yeah,
indeed.
It's simple.
Can we stop talking about food? I'm longing for that kebab now. I've mentioned it.
Sorry. Right. Let's talk about something a bit more serious. Small boat crossings. 1,200 today. It's a record. It's a daily record. It's disturbing. 18 small boats with an average of 65 Peter on each boat. I'll come to you in just a second. Have we got the package? No, we'll go to you, Peter. What do you make of this? This should be a national emergency, no?
With each and every boat arrival, through a tiny, tiny little percentage, Britishness gets diluted. The things in our culture that I love, and I'm sure many millions do, all get watered down. It may be just a drop at a time, but that continual drip, 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 drip dilutes our nation, dilutes our culture, and makes us, I feel, not a better place, but a somewhat worse place.
And it's not just small boat migrants. It's shoplifting. It's jumping the barriers on the tube. It's playing loud music on the train. It's having your filthy feet up on the seats on the train. All this kind of stuff, Linda.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that troubles me, because I saw it on social media today, is the amount of first cousin marriages that happen in some of these communities. Now, I don't want to sort of label one community more than another, but I've seen those people at first-hand in asylum hotels, and some of those disabilities, are truly dreadful. The children are in pain, and it costs us literally hundreds of thousands of pounds
a year
to try and keep these children alive across a very limited lifetime. And yet we see the MP, Akbar Mohammed, stand up in the House of Commons saying, actually, there's nothing wrong with first cousin marriage. When there is, there's everything medically wrong with it.
Paul Richards, sorry, Keir Starmer said smash the gangs. He's doing anything but. This is quite frankly a disgrace. It's a threat to the nation. We don't know who these people are, where they're from, what their intentions are. We say it again. I'm like a damn broken record on this show. They throw their passports in the channel. They throw their phones in the channel. They come here. They get 5-star, 4-star hotels. They get NHS dental treatment. They get doctors on tap. They get food. They get Wi-Fi. They get bus passes to town. They get spending money from the Home Office. This is a joke, isn't it? Please admit it's a joke. Labour haven't got a grip on this at all.
It's linked to the weather. So we do know when it's a calm day on the channel, then the numbers will go up. If there was a single simple thing you could do to stop this, we would do it. Any government would. But you say that. How do you do that?
You put them in... Do you do what Australia did? You put them in seaworthy lifeboat-style vessels and you tow them back to France, and you say, I don't care about the French, by the way, what they'll say or how they react. You say, here you go, this is your problem.
But you can only do that with the, compliance of the French authorities. So maybe that's a negotiation. Well, because they'll just send them back here, and they'll be just going back and forth. It wouldn't work,
It's a surrender. It's a surrender by successive governments and shame upon them. We are being taken collectively as a nation for mugs. This is costing billions, and it is happening day after day after day when the sea is flat.
There was a figure put on it this morning. I'm sure I read it in the Telegraph. Isn't it something
£1 billion?
£1 billion
in benefits to households with one foreign national.
That's not people on boats, though, is it? That's people
we'll cover that in the next hour. That's
the Boris surge, is what that
Boris
is.
Johnson. Yeah, I mean, the Conservatives did it as well. You're all to blame. I mean, this, for me, call me a conspiracy nut. To me, this is now seeming intentional because they can stop it very simply by turning the boats back, and they won't. It's an invasion on a mass scale. It's putting particularly the women and the young girls of this nation at risk. And we hear from people banging on about misogyny and so on, people like, I don't know, people online, whatever. One of the biggest risks to women and young girls in this country is unknown young fighting-age men from faraway countries with completely different cultures to ours and different levels of respect for women free to roam our streets while their asylum claims are figured out.
But that's why they should be integrated into society. And in your solution, if you take all the benefits away, they go into the black economy, they go into the gangs, they live in tents in parks.
Put up detention centres.
And then they would be a greater risk, I would
We have communities in this country, sizable communities, that do not want to integrate, who have purposefully created their own neighbourhoods with their own culture, which looks entirely unlike anything we had in Britain.
Every wave of immigration looks like that to start with. So the Jewish East End looked like that to start with. The Irish in Kilburn looked like that to start with. Then they integrate, then they get money, then they become middle class and they move out. And that is the story of every wave of immigration to this country.
Pakistani women and Afghan women are very, very slow to integrate into
That's why we've argued that they should have language lessons, they should be given jobs, they should be paid taxes.
At whose expense?
Well, if they become taxpayers, then they are contributing.
But they're not.
They're not. There's millions of them that aren't.
They're not. Right, anyway, let's move on. You won't believe what's on the front page of the Daily Telegraph, which I'll share with you in just a minute. Lord Hermer, who called you all Nazis, he personally signed off on the prosecution of Lucy Connolly. More on that in just a tick. Don't go anywhere. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Quite a changeable look to the weather on Sunday, a mixture of rain or showers for some of us, but there will be some sunshine, particularly in the south and the east. It is going to be turning a good deal fresher though, this cold front bringing in some fresher winds from the Atlantic as we go into Sunday, and those isobars tightening together to bring some brisker winds. One or two showers on Saturday evening, just moving their way eastwards across England and Wales, but many areas actually ending the day on a dry note with some clear periods overnight. Notice these clumps of heavy showers and longer spells of rain arriving across Northern Ireland and Western Scotland though, and here turning quite windy once again. Temperatures not as high as they have been in recent nights and feeling a good deal fresher by the morning. So for Northern Ireland and western parts of Scotland, quite a wet start to the day on Sunday. That rain particularly heavy across the Highlands, the Grampians and down across the central belt as well. A mixture of sunshine showers to the northwest of Scotland and across Northern Ireland. So you may be lucky enough to stay dry just about here. But a few isolated showers also for Northern England, Wales and southwest England too. The best of the morning sunshine across the Midlands and eastern parts of the UK. But as we go through the morning, the cloud will tend to just bubble up a bit towards the east. Still some sunny spells here. Some pretty heavy showers, the odd rumble of thunder there across Wales, Northern England and Western Scotland. And here it will be a fairly blustery day, perhaps even coastal gales through the Irish Sea. So feeling quite a bit cooler than it has done of late. Still holding on to a little bit of warmth in the far southeast with highs of around 22 or 23 in the London area. A fine day to come for most of us on Monday, just a few very isolated showers developing, but notice it does start to turn much windier up towards the northwest and out towards the west. We've got this much wetter and windier area of weather coming in from Monday night and into Tuesday. So a wet and windy spell for many of us as we begin the day on Tuesday, and it looks set to stay pretty changeable for the rest of the week.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could be our biggest winner yet, touring in this stylish Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. This brand new 2025 model comes complete with kitchen and bathroom areas and enough space to comfortably sleep a family of 4. We'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to add a few of your favourite things. Don't miss out as lines close on the 6th of June. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Nigel is back.
Good evening.
Unfiltered.
Are these proposals bold enough?
Uncompromising.
Will it bring growth?
Unmissable.
We as a country are brilliant.
Nigel Farage returns this Tuesday from 7 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, it's 10 p.m. I'm Ben Leo, and breaking tonight on the front page of tomorrow's Sunday Telegraph, get this, Lord Hermer is facing fresh calls to quit after personally signing off on the prosecution of Lucy Connolly, who was, of course, sentenced to 2.5 years in prison after pleading guilty to stirring up racial hatred in the wake of the Southport killings last year. There he is, this side. Does he need to resign tonight? Elsewhere, new government figures show that foreigners are claiming £1 billion a month in benefits. Yes, you heard that right, £1 billion a month. Households with at least one claimant, who's a foreign national, received £941 million in March this year, and that's up from £461 million in just 2022. I'll be joined tonight by our stellar Saturday night panel, the former Scotland Yard detective Peter Blexley, journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, and the former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards. All of the first newspaper front pages coming right up. Good evening to you. Thank you for your company. Let's get stuck into the first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, which have dropped hot off the press, starting with The Independent. The headline reads, one for you, Paul. Obese patients denied joint replacements in bid to slash NHS costs. Maybe we can talk about this with your experience. Financial pressures are driving the decision to ration hip and knee surgery for severely overweight people, as 1/3 of NHS areas in England block access according to patients' body mass index. The front page of The Observer. Wow, it's a big one. Massive picture of Elon Musk, who is sporting a shiner. He's got a black eye. Once we get it up, there we go. Apparently, he said in the Oval Office today, I saw the clip, he was speaking to reporters, he said it was his son, X, who punched him in the face as he said goodbye to his temporary government position. And the Sunday Telegraph, this is where the big stories are. Two big stories. The PM has lost control of borders. That's GBN exclusive earlier today that 1,200 migrants crossed the Channel in a single day today, the largest influx this year. They came in, well, 18 boats, on average of 65 people per boat. And today's arrivals take the total so far this year to more than 14,600. That's up more than 30% on the same period last year. Elsewhere, down the bottom on the Telegraph, Lord Hermer is now under pressure tonight to quit over Lucy Connolly prosecutions. So Miss Connolly, of course, the wife of a Tory councillor, she was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison for a solitary tweet in the wake of the Southport killings last year. It's been revealed now that Lord Hermer's office, Keir Starmer's busy mate from North London, the Attorney General, personally signed off the prosecution on that. Well, let's speak to the panel about this. Linda Jubilee, Paul Richards, Peter Blexley, welcome back. What do you make of this, Peter Blexley, the fact that, I mean, this Hermer situation just gets worse and worse? First of all, he said that anyone who wants to deport foreign migrants, criminals rather, are sort of akin to Nazis, and now we know that he was involved in Lucy Connolly's plight.
These people, your Hermers, your Starmers, these politicians, they clearly share no concern for the matters that bother the everyday moderate mainstream people of Britain, I firmly believe. And we have yet another example here of him signing off on the Lucy Connolly case. And whilst, of course, she wrote things that were vile and broke the law, she was a woman, a mother, enraged by everything that happened at Southport. She hurriedly and very unwisely and illegally wrote what she did. Then she went for a walk to calm down. And when she came back, she immediately deleted it. I'll just focus a little bit, if I may, and I'll be quick, about the legalities of her appeal. Lucy Connolly's appeal was based around what was her intent when she wrote that tweet. And she argued that the legal representation was not made clear to her and that she didn't really fully appreciate what it was she was pleading guilty to. Of course, what happened? The legal profession looked after themselves because the lawyer that represented her at the first trial gave evidence at the appeal. And, of course, the judge was minded to believe what that lawyer had said. So, Hermer, the legal profession, they don't half know how to look after each other.
Well, they close ranks, and we can all conclude now with much confidence that Lucy Connolly was completely stitched up. Paul Richards, Kemi Badenoch tonight calling on Keir Starmer to sack Lord Hermer, and this was, before. I mean, she was doing the same when he got in trouble for the Nazi comments. Now, though, he's causing, you'd have to say, Lord Hermer, the Prime Minister, a massive headache.
Well, Peter just described him as a politician, but I'll push back on that because my problem with Hermer is that he's not a politician. He is a lawyer. He's part of a sort of a legal establishment, the blob, if you like, and he's behaving like that, but within government. And I think he's calling it wrong on a series of issues, not just this and not just Lucy Connolly, but on a range of things where he's on the wrong side of the public opinion, where as part of a government he should be on the side of the people. Now, as I said before, Ben, there is a reshuffle coming. I don't think there's going to be a sacking over this, but I suspect there will be a reshuffle, and then he will be part of the reshuffle.
This story does raise questions over his political nous, because he would have been able to release her on appeal. He could have signed off on that. He's entitled to do so, and he still didn't take the second chance to save her.
Well, I'll tell you why. I mean, who knows the answer to that question? It doesn't take an idiot to know the answer to that. Keir Starmer came out during and after those riots saying, basically pressuring the judiciary to lay down the full force of the law. And I know we hear about, of course, the Prime Minister doesn't get involved in sentencing and so on and so on. But when you've got the Prime Minister of a country coming out and demanding the full force of the law given to so-called people who are committing crimes, I don't think Lucy Connolly, in actual fact, did commit a crime. I think the threshold for that tweet was ridiculous. But when you've got the Prime Minister coming out and
hang on,
applying...
I'd call on people to set fire to hotels.
No. She said, for all I care.
Yeah.
She said, set fire to hotels for all I care. That's quite a pivotal...
But the fact of the matter is the Attorney General can intervene. They can intervene at the start of all of this, and they can intervene later on when there's an appeal. And that hasn't happened. And that is largely due to Lord Hermer's political inexperience.
Yeah, and he's mates with Keir Starmer. He's mates with Keir Starmer. He gave a toast at Keir Starmer's, was it his first day at Doherty Street Chambers?
Right.
But they've been mates for decades.
Yeah,
Keir Starmer gave him a peerage, then he made him the Attorney General. Then Keir Starmer comes out and says, lay down the full force of the law. Then Hermer signs off on Connolly's prosecution.
And there's a reason why most Attorney Generals are MPs, because whatever you think of MPs, the fact of the matter is they do develop political antennae across their careers that allows them to actually make effective judgments. And that's what should have happened here.
Peter, any word on this before we move on?
When did Starmer's antennae break? Because he is so politically inept. It's unbelievable. He knows how to run that party of his, but in terms of politically running the country, falling well short.
He's the same as Hermer. Right, let's move on to another shocking story in the Telegraph this morning. It's revealed that we're spending nearly £1 billion each and every month on benefits for foreigners. So this has nearly doubled in the last 3 years alone. We saw the figures there in the introduction to the show, 940 million last year, I believe, and compared to 2022, it was something just north of 400 million. It's more than doubled. Paul Richards, £1 billion a month on benefits for foreigners, whilst our pensioners freeze, our farmers worry about their future, gravely. One even took his own life, it was concluded by a coroner this week. And yet we've got £1 billion a month to give to foreign nationals.
Well, we're spending a lot more than that on people who are born here, so there's a problem with the benefit system, and I wouldn't single out foreigners as being at the fault for that. The whole system is broken. Not enough people are working.
But I don't mind
too
so
many
much if people born here are getting benefits. It's their country, it's their right.
And some of those people in that figure will be people who have paid tax and have been in work and are now out of work. It's not necessarily people just stepped off a boat, is it? It's people who happen to be in families where somebody is from another country, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the whole system is broken, which is why we're trying to fix it.
In some of the families I met when I went into the asylum hotels, I was dealing mainly with evacuees.
But these aren't asylum seekers, Linda. There's foreigners. There's people who happen to be born somewhere else.
Yeah, well, I'm just talking about asylum seekers now, because what I want to say is we had to estimate their level of benefits in order for them to leave the hotels to go into the private rental sector, because there was no social housing left. And some of those people were pulling in £4,000 to £5,000 per month.
What a joke.
In order to get into the private rental sector. And that is a strain, Paul. Whatever way you cut it, that is a difficulty for everyone, especially those with children who are trying to rent properties.
And talking of stepping off boats, to use your phrase, 1,200 people did that today.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Where are they all now? Where are they now? Where are they getting their heads down? Who's feeding them, clothing them, giving them pocket money to go and spend? We are.
£8 million a day on asylum hotels, £1 billion a month on benefits to foreign nationals. Can we get this Telegraph front page up again? I mean, this picture here, let's look at this picture. If you're listening on radio, it's a packed dinghy. It's from the Channel today. It's captioned a group of people on board a small boat leaving the beach in France, attempting to reach the UK. I mean, look how many people are on that boat. And let's look at the demographic of this picture as well. If you watch it on telly, look with me at these people.
Yeah.
How many women and children do you see on this boat? How many fighting-age young men do you see on this boat, grinning from ear to ear like Cheshire Cats, at glee at what they're about to arrive to, the land of milk and honey?
All of them. They're all fighting-age males.
1,200 over today, Paul. I think Keir Starmer needs to resign for failing to smash the gangs. He's had 10 months.
Well, I put it to you again. What do you think a democratic government could do? Because I think smashing the gangs is the right approach. It's a it's a hydra-headed problem.
It's working?
Well, demonstrably not today because of the calm weather, but it's going to take time to do this, and we are going to have to do it in compliance with the French and the Belgians too.
But it's going in an upward trajectory, Paul. That's the thing.
But what would you do if there was a?
Well, I've told you already.
Well, what, bomb them,
Right now, Starmer's saying to his wife,
what would you do?
Pass the balsamic, I'm smashing the avocado. That's all they're smashing,
We need to turn them back, Paul. I would argue it's a national emergency. Look at these pictures here. This is today. These are migrants from, I think they're leaving France, they're waiting for their boat. You know,
but where are the French authorities? Why are the French not intervening at this point?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It is a problem.
That's one way to smash the gangs, isn't it? To get the French on side and get them to do their job.
Paul, you've just proved my point. You're saying, what can we do about it? And you're saying we can't turn them back because the French won't have it. Who cares about them? Who gives a damn about the French?
Because the French need to stop that boat getting anywhere near the water.
They don't care.
Why isn't that boat being stopped on the motorway? Why isn't the French authorities stopping that boat getting anywhere near the coast?
Because they're glad to see the back of them. That's why. They don't want them in France. We don't want them in the UK.
This is a national emergency, and this, I will tell you, Paul, I will say now, I'm no geopolitical expert. This alone, this issue alone, forget everything else. Forget the farmers, forget the businesses, forget the pensioners. This issue alone will sink this government.
But you're suggesting the government's not doing anything about it, doesn't care. You even alluded to the fact they might encourage it. You know, none of that is true. They are trying to do all reasonable measures to stop this.
It is a scandal of epic proportions.
There's no disagreement with that, but you can't send the Navy in and start shelling them. You can't punch the boats once they're in the middle of the water.
Nobody said shell them.
Nobody
what a
suggested
preposterous idea.
Well, actually, there was a Reform Council that did say that and had to resign last
He was an idiot.
So,
you can't agree that it's a massive and
there are people
problem
that are saying
and then
that.
just agree that you can't do anything about it.
I'm saying you can do things about it, but I'm saying there's not a single simple thing you can do about it. Otherwise, any government would have done it.
Well, governments are there to deal with complicated matters.
Indeed, and that's why we are.
It's what they get elected to do.
Indeed,
and if
that's
they're
what
not
the
up to
government's
it, then ship out and let somebody else have a go.
But who and what would they do?
Well, just, I don't know.
There aren't any answers, are there?
Well, I've told you what the answer is. Keir Starmer can go and speak to Tony Abbott, who stopped the boats overnight in Australia. I don't want to hear arguments about, oh, but it's a different body of water. Tony Abbott did it overnight. The boats stopped overnight. The deaths in the Channel stopped overnight. British communities would stop being infiltrated overnight. Women in the UK would be safer overnight. The taxpayer would be feeling a lot lighter in their wallet overnight. Do it. Sort it out. There's not the political will. That's why I say I fear it's intentional, because it just... Otherwise, it has to be.
I don't think it's...
They're not that incompetent.
Why would Keir Starmer intentionally endanger his position?
Exactly. If it's going to bring the government down, why would they be doing it on purpose?
Let's just think about it again.
Last word.
1,200 people in a single day.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame them. I blame the people that put them on the boat in the first place. That's who we have to go after.
Right,
the people
OK.
profiting from it.
They're here for the time of their lives. That's what they're coming here for.
There we go. The Sunday Telegraph. The PM's lost control of borders. I mean, I would say it's breaking news, but I guess we knew that 10 months ago, right? Now, it's the final week to see how you could win our biggest giveaway to date, a brand new motorhome. What are you laughing at?
The handbrake turn you've just executed on that.
The segue to the giveaway.
Yeah, that's right.
It's your chance to win a motorhome worth £67,000. Here's all the details you need to win.
It's the final week to see how you could be our biggest winner yet.
Driving away in this Elnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. It has plenty of room for your family of four, comes complete with kitchen, bathroom and all the space you'll need for life on the road. And the best news? You can drive it on your existing driving licence. Plus, we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Don't delay. You can't win if you're not in the draw. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
This motorhome and £5,000 in cash really could be yours. Good luck.
All right, good luck to you. Coming up is the former senior correspondent at the Sunday Times, Andrew Gilligan, with more of tomorrow's front pages, including a story from his old paper. British fighter jets are to carry nuclear bombs. I believe, we'll get stuck into this in a second, I believe it's American-made planes armed with UK nukes. Sounds terrifying. Back in a tick.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This must have been the most difficult time.
Yeah, for him, yeah, obviously. But I noticed there's no mention of the one that happened to me when I was a Top Gear presenter, when I ended up upside down in a ditch just outside Ormskirk and had to burrow my way out of the wreckage.
Gosh.
It was then taken to hospital, having been scalped with numerous injuries, and was told to keep quiet and not tell anybody about it. And get this, had to ride back from the hospital to my house on a motorcycle. They just keep quiet about it, and they just paid off the guy whose Lotus Classic car was completely written off in the accident.
Gosh.
And the only trace of this incident is on my Wikipedia page, where at the bottom it says, "We love getting together as presenters so we could have a good laugh about what Steve Berry had crashed that week. Jeremy Clarkson, having a good old laugh at my expense."
Well, Steve, I'm really sorry. I had no idea that had happened to you, and obviously,
equally, nobody's got any idea what happened to me. They just had a good old laugh about it. I had to burrow my way out to that car like a badger. My hands were cut to shreds, and I had to ride home. Having been scalped, I had to have my scalp stapled back onto my head. They told me to shut up and keep quiet about it. And I got 6 grand. The problem for me is it's just dangerous. Once you start messing about with cars and motorbikes, it's just you're rolling the dice every single time you do it. And every so often it's going to come up snake eyes. And it did for Freddie. And I feel sorry for the lad. It's terrible what happened to him. But I'll tell you what, that £9 million must...
Well, it's a dangerous game, isn't it? Steve Berry, thanks indeed for joining us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
There we go. We're in Paris now, where locals are celebrating the win of Paris Saint-Germain in the UEFA Champions League final against Inter Milan in Munich. Paris beat Milan 5-0, and I have to say, as an Arsenal fan, I'm kind of happy PSG won because they knocked us out in the semi-finals. So, I don't know, it makes that a little bit easier to digest, but I don't know, I just come on Arsenal. We need to win a European trophy. We need to win
any trophy this year.
Well, we need to win anything, yeah. League Cup will do, I'll take that.
I think the women did OK, didn't the women?
Arsenal ladies?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I respect women's football, but it's a different game.
Oh, dearie me.
Well, it is. I've had this conversation before with Nana on the show. I mean, it's, yeah, well done to the women, but it's just... You
can't... They won a European Cup. They beat Barcelona in the final.
Well, a win's a win. In my book.
OK, let's move on. More papers have just dropped. Let's speak or introduce first to the former senior correspondent at the Sunday Times, Andrew Gilligan. Andrew, good afternoon, or good evening to you. Good afternoon. Thank you for your company.
Good evening to you.
Some good stories on the front of your old paper, the Sunday Times. First of all, British fighter jets are to carry nuclear bombs. Just tell us, please, what's this about?
So what they're saying here is that as part of the defence review, they're going to allow British aircraft to carry nuclear weapons in a way that they actually did do during the Cold War, but stopped doing about probably 20, 25 years ago. They used to have something called the WE-177 that's carried on RAF planes, which is basically a bomb that would be literally dropped over the target. That was retired in, I think, 98, 99, something like that. And the only nuclear weapons we've got at the moment are submarine launched, the Trident ballistic missiles, which sit in submarines and get fired over enormous distances. These are much shorter range weapons, and it's interesting, but also really quite worrying because it implies there's going to be some kind of a tactical nuclear war, or at least that's the capability they're preparing for.
I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, the first couple of paragraphs on the Times article says Britain wants to purchase fighter jets capable of firing tactical nuclear weapons. So Keir Starmer's government is in highly sensitive talks over the move, which would represent the biggest development in the UK's deterrence since the Cold War. John Healey, the Defence Secretary, and Admiral Sir Tony Radakin, the head of the Armed Forces, are looking to acquire American-made fighter jets capable of launching gravity bombs with lower power than conventional nukes. I mean, this sounds like Jeremy Corbyn's nightmare, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, look, what this means is potentially that they're thinking about a scenario in which there's a limited nuclear exchange. So the only scenario we were armed for before was basically a total thermonuclear war, where it was like, you know, the Russians firing ballistic missiles on London, us firing ballistic missiles on Moscow, like mutually assured destruction. What these weapons were for would be for a much more limited nuclear war, where nuclear weapons would be fired across the front line, for instance, in Ukraine, or on a much and cause destruction on a still massive but much smaller scale.
Yeah.
And obviously, the argument against that, the risk of that, is that any nuclear exchange, however, you know, quote unquote small, relatively small at the beginning, quickly escalates into something much, much bigger and more dangerous when, you know, we get to that kind of whole world being destroyed scenario.
OK, yeah, sounds good. Linda Jubilee is on standby with a question for you, Andrew, if you don't mind.
So, Andrew, I know this is a kind of how long is a piece of string thing, but how great are the chances of one of these nukes being fired and then it leading to an escalation?
Well, I think quite serious, because what you're doing here, you're making it easier to launch a nuclear weapon, because at the moment, the massive destruction that would be caused is a deterrent to launching them. Whereas if you can say, OK, well, we're only going to destroy a bit of your country, then it maybe makes it a little bit easier to launch, or we're going to use it in a tactical battlefield sense. And that's one of the reasons Britain got rid of these weapons in the 90s. And it is disturbing that they're coming back, if they're coming back, if this actually happens. And it does. It's another sign that the world we're in is more dangerous than it was.
And it's the aircraft is the F-35A, which is, of course, a famous American fighter jet. I mean, to be honest, Paul Richards, you've got a question for Andrew. To be honest, I'd be quite chuffed having a fleet of F-35s armed with nukes in our arsenal.
Well, I totally agree, Ben, and I think they are largely, parts of them are made in Lancashire with good unionised jobs. I met the convener the other day who was in charge of that particular bit of the arms industry. But isn't it interesting, this is a Labour government which is now, I think, historians will judge, not for the day-to-day froth we endlessly discuss, but actually the rearmament of Europe will be its legacy. And isn't that a surprise? Because that is not what Labour governments historically have been associated with, or perhaps the Attlee government, you can go back to 45, but this one, I think, is going to be remembered for this. The nature of the threat, of course, has precipitated this, but also the determination, the steely determination of the likes of John Healey to get this job done. Isn't that interesting, do you think, Andrew?
Look, if this turns out to be true and not just kind of more Sunday newspaper high, which it could be, I think this will be pretty controversial with the Labour Party. They're already pretty unhappy with Keir Starmer's, the way he's been running the government. They're doing all sorts of things that lots of Labour MPs never signed up for. You're seeing increasingly loud noises off from the left of the party. I think we might in the next few years be looking at the possibility of a split. If this happens, would make that more likely, I'm sure, because there's a lot of people in the party still who never accepted Labour scrapping unilateral nuclear disarmament, in other words, getting rid of all our nuclear weapons, including the big ballistic missiles that we already have.
Well, I think the only thing I'd say to that, Andrew, is a lot of those people have left and are now in the Green Party. So I think some of that internal dispute, I think, has gone, and the unilateralists are largely out of the Labour Party.
Andrew, should we talk just very briefly about the Mail front page? British dad spying for China, seized in an FBI sting. So a British businessman, he is 63, his name's John Miller. He was arrested on the orders of the FBI following a sting operation and is now awaiting extradition to the United States. Tell us about this.
So this is another sign of the same kind of thing we're just talking about, really, the danger of the world we're in, the growing danger and the growing risk and threat from two big enemies, Russia and China. There's no doubt at all the Chinese have been significantly increasing their espionage against this country. We know, of course, that there's somebody awaiting trial on charges, somebody who used to work in Parliament awaiting trial on espionage charges for China. We know there are all sorts of other troubling links. We know there were links, for instance, or alleged links between China and Prince Andrew. And the fact is, this is it's a relatively open, vulnerable society, and we haven't realised until I think very recently, the last year or two, that just how vulnerable we are. And what this is a symptom of how we're like catching up with the threat. Having been a bit complacent, a bit blasé about it in the past, we're now acting more against it. But of course, if we'd done it in the first place, we wouldn't have so much of a problem. We wouldn't have the problem we've got now.
Linda?
Andrew, isn't it a problem? I was a foreign correspondent in China for 5 years, and so I learned actually to respect their level of spycraft, if you like. But I wonder why they have been so underestimated by the West. Do you think there is this constant conundrum between we actually do want some kind of relationship with them, particularly where trade is concerned, and we actually fear them because of all the infiltration we know that we'll have to deal with?
Yeah, I mean, so government policy in the fairly recent past was I think, naively favourable and open to China. So if you remember, David Cameron and Jules Osborne had what they called a golden era of relationship with China. And Cameron took President Xi to a pub near Chequers for a drink. And there was a lot of chumminess. But I think it's quite likely the Chinese were just playing us the whole time on that. They're essentially a strategic rival to the West. And what you've seen also is a change in China. So it was possible for Cameron and Osborne to do that, and maybe even to think that China was opening up to the West and was becoming more democratic politically back when that happened, which was early noughties. In the last 5 or 6 years, China's foreign policy has become much more aggressive, and its whole tone has become much more aggressive. They've got something called wolf warrior diplomacy, where they openly attack the West in a way they never did before. I mean, rhetorically attack the West, I mean, and so the temperature between the West and China has cooled enormously. And then, of course, the current trade wars between the US and China also feed into that. Britain's probably trying to be the piggy in the middle, like it often does, and I think it might find it gets caught from both sides if it tries that too much.
Andrew, thank you so much for your company this evening. Really appreciate it. Have a good rest of your weekend. If we just get the mail back up again, just very quickly, before we go to the break. Sarah Vine, Michael Gove's ex-wife, she's got a new memoir out, and she says David Cameron behaved like a big man baby. Day 2 of Sarah Vine's unflinching political memoir that's left Westminster quaking in its boots. Look forward to that. Right, coming up just after the break, another story has just dropped from The Telegraph. Labour has opened the door to progressive water bills that would force those with larger family homes and gardens to pay more. It's a family bath time tax. Sounds like a load of... I won't say. Back in just a tick.
Hello there. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Quite a changeable look to the weather on Sunday. A mixture of rain or showers for some of us, but there will be some sunshine, particularly in the south and the east. It is going to be turning a good deal fresher, though. This cold front bringing in some fresher winds from the Atlantic as we go into Sunday, and those isobars tightening together to bring some brisker winds. 1 or 2 showers on Saturday evening, just moving their way eastwards across England and Wales, but many areas actually ending the day on a dry note with some clear periods overnight. Notice these clumps of heavy showers and longer spells of rain arriving across Northern Ireland and Western Scotland, though, and here turning quite windy once again. Temperatures not as high as they have been in recent nights and feeling a good deal fresher by the morning. So for Northern Ireland and western parts of Scotland, quite a wet start to the day on Sunday. That rain particularly heavy across the Highlands, the Grampians and down across the central belt as well. A mixture of sunshine showers to the northwest of Scotland and across Northern Ireland. So you may be lucky enough to stay dry just about here. But a few isolated showers also for Northern England, Wales and southwest England too. The best of the morning sunshine across the Midlands and eastern parts of the UK. But as we go through the morning, the cloud will tend to just bubble up a bit towards the east. Still some sunny spells here. Some pretty heavy showers, the odd rumble of thunder though across Wales, northern England and western Scotland. And here it will be a fairly blustery day, perhaps even coastal gales through the Irish Sea. So feeling quite a bit cooler than it has done of late. Still holding on to a little bit of warmth in the far southeast with highs of around 22 or 23 in the London area. A fine day to come for most of us on Monday, just a few very isolated showers developing, but notice it does start to turn much windier up towards the northwest and out towards the west. We've got this much wetter and windier area of weather coming in from Monday night and into Tuesday. So a wet and windy spell for many of us as we begin the day on Tuesday, and it looks set to stay pretty changeable for the rest of the week.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Duke,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Two more papers have just dropped. Let's take a look at the front page, starting with the Sunday Express. Great story, I have to say. Armed jail staff to stop Islamist attacks. This is a call from the man of the moment, Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick, who says that prison officers must be armed with tasers, stun grenades and baton rounds. What's a baton round, Peter?
Rubber bullet.
Oh, right, great. Yeah, I'm off that. To prevent their kidnap or murder by Islamic terrorists. The stark warning comes after a spate of officer attacks in prisons. We'll talk about that in just a sec. The Sunday Mirror. Shock finding of waste probe, 700 million Tory PPE failure. Taxpayer cash wasted after Boris officials failed to check gear. Ready? Peter Blexley, what do you make of this story? 2 points here. Paul, I'll talk about Jenrick with you in a second. Arming prison officers, though, Peter. Arm them to the nines.
Yeah, I think Mr. Jenrick, free of the shackles of high office, is having the time of his life. I bumped into him the other day, not in the corridors of power, OK?
Down
right?
Nick?
No, the Westminster GB News studio. He was going out and I was coming in. And I thanked him for his video that he did about fare evasion, because it's one of the things that really irritates me. And he is highlighting matters that I think chime with the public and are actually very important. Our prison staff need to be better protected. They deal with the utter vermin that we lock up because they are not safe to be among us. So it is only right and respectful that they are given any tools that they need to try and prevent them becoming injured, because they are being harmed at a shockingly high rate on a daily basis.
Why not just arm them with proper guns?
Because there's always the risk of a prisoner taking a gun from you.
But doesn't that apply to coppers as well?
And then you've got a much worse situation in a confined space.
Right, got it.
That's a much more dangerous situation. Taser, oh yes, undoubtedly. Taser, I think, would be highly appropriate.
And rubber rounds, rubber bullets.
Well, if need be, but certainly as far as taser, I'm fully supportive. Stab vests as well. They need these stab vests. To think that we are sending prison officers onto the landing wearing only a shirt is utterly ludicrous.
And I'll just say, before I come to you guys, Linda and Paul, people like the Southport scumbag, again, I'm not going to name him, he doesn't deserve it, who did what he did in Southport, killed 3, small babies, God bless them, and then went to attack a prison officer. I don't think he should even be on this planet to begin with. So I think we need to have a serious conversation about capital punishment. Maybe we'll save it for another day. Paul, let me ask you about Robert Jenrick, who is hitting all the right notes. As Peter said, he did the underground fare evasion. He's doing lots of social media content. Whoever's running his comms is doing a pretty good job. Is he going to be the next leader of the Conservative Party?
Well, we use this phrase, don't we, on manoeuvres. But, I mean, he is on manoeuvres on stilts, isn't he? He's dominating the headlines. And I've said this week after week in a way that Kemi, who is the leader of the party, is failing to do so. He seems to be, as you say, freed from the shackles of being a Home Office minister when he could have done something about some of these things, and he's decided to sort of go in this very oppositionalist sort of phase that he's in now. And I think it's appealing to the Conservative base, the people who will be electing the next leader. So I think if you're a betting person, get yourself down to Ladbrokes and get yourself a tenner on Jenrick for leader.
Yeah, I wonder what price he is, Linda.
Sorry?
I was just saying, I wonder what price he is. I was just mumbling under my breath. We're looking at the bookies odds.
But I think that certainly Kemi Badenoch does seem to be on thin ice.
Well, she's toast, isn't she? I mean,
I think it's
as an outsider,
in some media circles now that she probably is in the departure lounge.
Yeah.
But to be on a positive note about Jenrick, I think that he won't take his foot off the gas now, and that's really important because he's built up a certain level of momentum. Plus, he's built engagement with the general public, which is very valuable. He's chosen to do something quite effective in communications. He's not just talking about something; he's in fact doing something, and that's a very, very powerful thing to do. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if he is chosen to be the leader in the next election.
I mean, Kemi must be furious because, you know, she gave this big statement today about...
That she's doing anything.
You know, her big speech this week was all about Corbynism with a Union Jack or something. It didn't work. Nobody understood what she was talking about. And here's Jenrick dominating the headlines day after day.
Yeah, indeed. OK, let's move on. Another great story in the Sunday Telegraph. Labour are allegedly opening the door to a progressive water bill which could force larger family homes to pay more for water. They're calling it the bath time tax, Paul Richards. Let me just see if we get some more information on this. So ministers have said they support utility companies trialling new tariffs that charge the heaviest users of water a higher rate. I mean, when is all this pillaging and of bill payers and taxpayers going to stop? People are skint.
Well, if you look at the headline, it says looks at, and I think that phrase looks at is doing an awful lot of heavy lifting in this story. This is a written answer by a junior minister offering some speculation that at some point somebody might look at something like a different tariff. And there are different tariffs available and different water companies do different things. This is not going to be something happening tomorrow, so I would relax.
Will it stop you having a bath or shower, Peter?
No, and I'm very disciplined with my showering. I put one music track on, so I know my shower's going to be about 4 minutes.
I do.
And I have to be done and dusted before the song ends, right? Anyway, when it comes to water companies, where are these executives, these highly paid executives who have pumped billions of tonnes of sewage into our rivers and seas for years? Where are they being held to account? Where are they being jailed, which is where so many of them belong?
Well, we've introduced a law that would jail them if they're shown to be polluting in the way you describe. And before that, there was no law. So actually, we are making moves forward on this.
Just do what I do, or only have a cold shower.
Yes, I like cold showers.
Ooh. I have one every day, winter or
Good on you.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I like a cold shower. It makes you feel alive.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Gets the endorphins going.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. I saw a tweet yesterday which I wanted to share with you guys at home and, indeed, my panel. This was from somebody whose grandmother was in hospital.
Oh.
This is a meal which was served to the grandmother. The poster said, "Tonight's NHS meal for my old, ill, amputated mother," consisted of 1 scoop of mash, 1 small slice of gammon, 7 mange tout, 1 single barely visible to naked eye roast potato, and a little bit of gravy. £2 billion a year, and there is no staff, no beds, no apps, and apparently no effing food. I saw this picture and I thought, and I may be wrong here, I may be going against the grain, I thought, it doesn't look great, but I didn't think it looked that bad.
No, I mean, I've seen worse. I remember when my lovely wife Sarah was having our oldest child 23 years ago, I remember the food she got in hospital was absolutely... We had to go out to the pizza place and bring in food into the maternity ward because they were not being fed. I mean, you know...
I've seen worse, Linda.
Yeah, in fact,
unfortunately
so. When you're in bed... my poor mother died at the end of last year and she was in and out of hospital for 6 months. But when you're actually in bed... and you need a certain amount of nutrition. It has to have the right nutrients, but you don't need a lot of food because you're simply not going to burn calories when you're in that state. In fact, you could easily overeat, I think, but that's my point. There's a fair slab of protein there, not too many carbs, and some green vegetables. Yeah. And she probably had soup and some fresh fruit afterwards.
Peter,
that's standard practice.
I know you love your dear mum. She's 93. And what's her name?
96.
96. What's her name again?
Yeah, Pauline. Yeah.
Oh, Pauline.
Pauline, yeah.
Did she hear my shout-out last week?
She did, thank you very much. Yes. Yes.
Hello, Pauline.
She did
Hope
indeed.
you're right.
Yes.
What would she make it? I mean, what would you make of this meal if it was served to your mum, God forbid, if she was in hospital?
Yeah, I wouldn't be fussed. I'd probably be down a kebab shop getting a kebab.
Who, for your mum or you?
Well,
both.
She'd like a bit of chicken sheesh. Yeah.
OK. Talking of food, should we take a look at... Paul, you mentioned earlier in the show that you used to be significantly bigger. Should we take a quick look? We've got a picture now. So viewers at home, this is Paul Richards. How long ago? What year?
This is 2021, March.
You're on the left, obviously.
That's my constituency chairman on the right. Shout out to Dave, and me on the left there.
What did you weigh there?
That's about 22, 23 stone. And I've lost the weight without any injections, without any medical interventions, no operations, no fad diets, just cutting out the carbs and doing lots of steps.
So what weight are you now?
I'm about 13 and a half now, something like that. So I've lost about 10. And I do lots of steps, and I just don't eat, mash and all the rubbish carbs that you don't need. But the point is, I wish that there'd be a bit more fat shaming going on. I wish when I was that fat, I was a bit more shamed, because you go to the doctors and they don't even mention it. They don't say, do you think you should lose a bit of weight?
And that's
they're frightened of doing it.
The independent story of the government thinking they might take steps to not operate on people who are too obese for hip operations and for knee operations, because most of the operations, the commonplace operations that take place for hip replacements and knee replacements are caused by obesity.
Yeah. What's your daily step target? Oh.
Well, I do the classic 10,000, which I know is a gimmick, but it gives you a target. But I do that more than that most days. The other, it's not just hip operations, though. It's people having their toes chopped off with the diabetes. That's one of the biggest things. Paediatricians will tell you the biggest operations they do is chopping bits of people's feet off because they're overweight.
Oh, God.
It's horrific.
It's not a problem for you, though, Ben, is it?
Sorry?
It's not a problem for you.
Well, it's because I have to... Look, like I said, I could sit at home destroying... the... I've forgot the name of the brand. They're the old-school chewy caramel bars.
Curly Whirlies.
No, I love those as well. Look, I could sit there eating chocolate bars all day and all night, and I would get fat, but I have to work at it. Anyway, let's move... Yeah, caramel wafers, I'm being told by the powers that be in my... right, let's move on. I saw another video this week. Do you remember when you received your very first paycheck?
That's $283.
Oh.
After tax, what's that?
That is after tax. Hey, you got some money.
Shoot.
Oh, I saw that video. I loved that video. I love that kid. It's his first ever paycheck from McDonald's. It's his first ever job. I think he was 16. He's in America. And he's just so appreciative, so grateful. He's busted a gut on his first ever job, and he's just loving it. He's just so surprised that he's getting, reward for his hard work.
I can remember mine, Boots the chemist, age 16, and my first national insurance contribution was £1.72.
Is that new money or old money?
New money.
What was your first job and first paycheck?
Well, paper round, classically, and then I worked in a hotel as a bellboy with a sort of livery jacket, high collar and all that, and then not far from Fawlty Towers. Then I worked in a video shop on a Saturday serving up videos. What's a video, Dad? It's a thing we used to watch films on, and then, and then into journalism. So, I've done all those interesting jobs on the way up.
Peter?
First full-time job, Woolworths, warehouseman.
Woolies,
That's
yes.
it.
Did you used to nick the pick and mix?
Put it this way. At one point during my brief employment with Woolworths, there was a sugar shortage. Not in my house, there wasn't.
So you went to Woolies, then where?
Metropolitan Police Cadets.
Oh, straight into them?
Yeah, at 17, yeah.
Nice. What was my first job? I worked for the water board, then I worked for EDF Energy, the electricity board, buying and selling wholesale energy. I was actually pretty good at that job.
Actually, I worked in my local hairdressers first of all, but I was only 14 and the headmistress found out.
Oh, dear.
To give it up.
Oh, dear.
Really mortified.
All right, back in just a tick with the big weekend fails. If you're not familiar with it, it's the part of the show where my panel pick one moment of the week where they thought it was an absolute disgrace, it was a massive fail, and we all get stuck into it. Back in just a tick.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Heatwave conditions set to continue across parts of Europe where 40 degrees Celsius is possible, this turning into a thundery breakdown elsewhere. Now, the heatwave conditions will continue across parts of Portugal, Spain and also Morocco, but it's likely we'll see the peak of heat through today. But this turning into thundery showers, particularly across France and Germany, but elsewhere across Rome, the Adriatic coastline and across Greece, it should be mostly dry, settled, still feeling warm in the sunshine, and temperatures into next week still remaining in the mid-20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, weekdays from 9 p.m.
Oh, can you tell me, please, about your time during the war? 50 bombing raids over Germany. Do you remember the first time you faced enemy fire?
Yes, very clearly. No one can tell you what it is like to be shot at. You have to experience it. And on my very first occasion, which was a raid on Hanover, we came under anti-aircraft fire. I have to tell you right from the outset that German anti-aircraft fire was very accurate, it was very lethal, and of course it was linked to radar, so they always knew where you were and where they expected you to be when the shells arrived. Well, we were naive, we were inexperienced, and as I say, nobody could tell you what it's going to be like. You have to experience it.
You must be very proud of what you did during the war and ultimately helping to save Britain from the Nazis.
No. If you're looking for a hero, and I'm certainly not a hero, you must look at the boys that flew the heavy bombers, the Halifaxes and the Lancasters, because they flew much, much more slowly. Loaded, I think, somewhere under 200 miles an hour.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Nigel is back.
Good evening.
Unfiltered.
Are these proposals bold enough?
Uncompromising.
Will it bring growth?
Unmissable.
We as a country are brilliant.
Nigel Farage returns this Tuesday from 7 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
Welcome back. Some quick your says about Paul Richards' fantastic weight loss. Somebody said, it's the only well-done thing I can say about you, Paul.
There you go, I'll take that.
I think that's a compliment. And somebody else said, blimey, hats off and credit where it's due for losing all that tonnage the natural way to the, I think they're joking, to the horrible Paul Richards, lol.
Lol back at you.
Yeah, there we go. Right, lol back at you. Time now for Big Weekend Fails, our part of the show where we pick a moment from the week which we think has been an absolutely epic fail. Mine is the moments when... have we got a clip or was it an image? I think it's a clip. Take a look at this.
And he feels that in Onana, he has signed a big personality, a huge character. We've already seen glimpses of that, him his defenders when they've made a mistake.
Just going to apologise for anyone if they were offended by the use of your language there, Melissa.
So that was a few years ago. That was Sky Sports news journalist Melissa Reddy, who this week was one of many journalists made redundant, I think, from the station. But she came out in the Daily Telegraph and said that she was ignoring all the haters and the racism and so on. And she kind of alluded to the fact that she lost her job because some people are racist, not because she wasn't very good at her job.
Well, I think the Sky has to cut back on the number of people it employs for purely business reasons. I mean, I think the fact of the matter is that...
it's going down the pan, isn't it? Let's face it.
It's never had very high viewing figures, but it's got very low viewing figures.
Yeah.
The Sky News itself has never made money. It's
and
always
it's certainly not making money now. We're smashing them day in, day out in the ratings. Peter, this is yours. Starmer bashed by journos. Let's take a look.
I think one of the problems is that Nigel Farage can approximate talking like a human being, where you just resort to talking points and dodging questions.
The speed of the decline in your popularity is historically unprecedented. Isn't this speech today an admission that you have failed and Nigel Farage understands voters better than you?
Just quickly, Peter, what's going on there?
Unbelievable. Starmer has this set-piece event in the northwest of England and he holds a press conference. It's entirely about Farage. Starmer promoted Farage to being the leader of His Majesty's opposition. Yep. Absolutely astonishing. Talk about shoot yourself in the foot.
And what a great question from, of all people, The Guardian there. Linda, what's your... well, let's take a look. Lord Homer, let's take a look.
The claim that international law is fine as far as it goes, but can be put aside when conditions change, is a claim that was made in the early 1930s by realist jurists in Germany, most notably Carl Schmitt.
Linda, what was that, just as a reminder?
There we are, being compared to 1930s Germany. I mean, it went down like a cup of cold sick. In fact, he's told people he's made an apology. It's an apology without the the meaningful word sorry, and he needs to go.
Resign or sack him. Paul, this is yours. Talk over these pictures.
Well, this is Elon Musk, and his political career has blown up as fast as one of his useless rockets, hasn't it? And he's leaving the White House with this massive shiner. Now, he claims that a small child did this to him. But I think that's... Yeah, his son. So, I think there's a little bit more to this picture than meets the eye.
Who's the conspiracy theorist now?
Well, I don't know. Big punch-up with Trump, I think.
Would you like a tin-foil hat?
No, but I think there is more to be said about this. And I won't go into some of his other habits on air, but I think, who knows. Do you think a 5-year-old could deliver that kind of blow to the face? I don't know, mine didn't.
We can talk about the habits. I mean, he's on ketamine every day.
He does take ketamine. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I like the big gold key he was given. I thought that was a sort of pantomime touch.
But you could have predicted it. In fact, I think I did predict on Ben Leo tonight that this would end in tears, and now it's ending in violence.
That's why you're paid the big bucks, Paul. That's why you're paid the big bucks on Ben Leo tonight. Actually, I did as well. Sorry to trump you, but I think months ago when Elon Musk called out Farage, I said that I don't think he would last long. Although I love Elon Musk. Coming up next, it's Headliners presented by Leo Kurz. Leo, what's in store tonight?
We're going to be covering the story about Elon Musk's eye and him getting given that massive key, possibly to do ketamine off. We're also going to be talking about Starmer. Starmer said he was going to smash the people smuggling gangs. Instead, he's smashing records for boats crossing the channel. It's up 30% on last year. Also, kids are being taught that Vikings were black. It's ridiculous. And Labour are implementing a bath time tax.
Yeah, I saw that. I think maybe I just won't shower. No, only joking. I'd probably go down the local gym. Thank you for your company tonight. Really appreciate it. And thank you to my panel, Linda, Paul, Peter. I'll see you again tomorrow from 9 o'clock. Up next, of course, it's Headliners. That's after your weather. Good night. See you tomorrow.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Quite a changeable look to the weather on Sunday, a mixture of rain or showers for some of us, but there will be some sunshine, particularly in the south and the east. It is going to be turning a good deal fresher though, this cold front bringing in some fresher winds from the Atlantic as we go into Sunday, and those isobars tightening together to bring some brisker winds. 1 or 2 showers on Saturday evening, just moving their way eastwards across England and Wales, but many areas actually ending the day on a dry note with some clear periods overnight. Notice these clumps of heavy showers and longer spells of rain arriving across Northern Ireland and Western Scotland though, and here turning quite windy once again. Temperatures not as high as they have been in recent nights and feeling a good deal fresher by the morning. So for Northern Ireland and western parts of Scotland, quite a wet start to the day on Sunday. That rain particularly heavy across the Highlands, the Grampians and down across the central belt as well. A mixture of sunshine showers to the northwest of Scotland and across Northern Ireland. So you may be lucky enough to stay dry just about here. But a few isolated showers also for Northern England, Wales and southwest England too. The best of the morning sunshine across the Midlands and eastern parts of the UK. But as we go through the morning, the cloud will tend to just bubble up a bit towards the east. Still some sunny spells here. Some pretty heavy showers, the odd rumble of thunder though across Wales, Northern England and western Scotland. And here it will be a fairly blustery day, perhaps even coastal gales through the Irish Sea. So feeling quite a bit cooler than it has done of late. Still holding on to a little bit of warmth in the far southeast with highs of around 22 or 23 in the London area. A fine day to come for most of us on Monday, just a few very isolated showers developing, but notice it does start to turn much windier up towards the northwest and out towards the west. We've got this much wetter and windier area of weather coming in from Monday night and into Tuesday. So a wet and windy spell for many of us as we begin the day on Tuesday, and it looks set to stay pretty changeable for the rest of the week.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could be our biggest winner yet, touring in this stylish Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. This brand new 2025 model comes complete with kitchen and bathroom areas and enough space to comfortably sleep a family of 4. We'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to add a few of your favourite things. Don't miss out as lines close on the 6th of June. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays here.